Hello and welcome to this presentation of EdgeKernel. EdgeKernel is a serverless platform which uses unikernels rather than containers to execute functions. In this presentation we will take a freshly installed Ubuntu machine and set up EdgeKernel. Here I have today Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. So to begin with, we'll need to download it from GitHub. You can find it at github.com/cm16161/EdgeKernel. So if we just do this and then we say git clone, copy and paste the link provided by GitHub, and it will now download the repository. So if we look in the repository, there is some installation instructions. So Debian install scripts are provided to install EdgeKernels. To begin with, we'll need to run the install.sh script. So as root sudo change directory into EdgeKernel, sudo.install .sh. And now this will install all of the program dependencies required by EdgeKernel to run. Now, EdgeKernel is designed to use MirageOS unikernels on the Solo 5 hypervisor for a fast and secure way to execute functions. Due to the small size of MirageOS unikernels, they are very fast to boot and are ideal when used on low-powered embedded devices. Now, this installation is probably going to take quite a while, so I'm going to pause the video here and I'll get back to you when it's done. So now that that's finished, we will go back to our installation instructions on GitHub and see what we need to do next. So we've just run the installation script and now we need to install opam using the download opam script. So let's do that. sudo./download opam. So we'll let this run, and now it's done. So now that that's done, we need to configure and install the Mirage program by running the install Mirage script. So /install mirage.sh. So again, this will take a while because there is a fair amount of things to do and things to set up. However, this script will handle everything, so I'm just going to get back to you when it is done. So we've just finished installing the Mirage program. So what we need to do now is we need to set our current environment to be able to find it. So if we say eval $opam_env, and now we can see that we have access to the Mirage program. So let's go back to the README. It says here that we need to configure the network by modifying line 17 and running the network configuration script as root. So what we do here is if we run the ifconfig command, we see that our inet is at 192.168.0.47, and that's attached to the ENP3S0 interface. So if we copy this and we go to our favorite text editor and we go to the network configuration script, we see that on line 17 we have this let device equal something. So here we want to set it to our to whatever the result of ifconfig is. So for here it is ENP3S0. Now that's done, we can say .sudo/network configuration, and now it's done. We've now set up our network. The last thing that we need to do is we need to configure the private IP address of EdgeKernel and that EdgeKernel listens to. So again, now that we have the network device, we can see that the inet is 192.168.0.47. So again, if we go to the program specified in the file specified in the installation, which is edgekernel.rb and MirageOS edgekernel API.ml, we will need to change these files. So let's start by going to edgekernel.rb. So not documents, edgekernel server edgekernel.rb, and we can see on line 12 we have this URI. So for us it was 192.168.47, so we'll just change that there. And then we also need to change the kernels, MirageOS kernels, edgekernel API.ml, and it was changed line 9. So we'll just change that to a 47. And that's done. So now that we have everything set up to run MirageOS unikernels, let's go about looking at what a unikernel looks like. So if we go back into our text editor and we go to EdgeKernel, kernels, MirageOS, hello world, and unikernel.ml, we can see an example unikernel. So it's more or less a simple MirageOS program. However, some lines, like for example this line here, has an EdgeKernel API connection. So what this is the EdgeKernel API file provides function definitions which will perform commands which are required by unikernels to communicate with the EdgeKernel system, the messaging queue. So this, if we can take a look at this file as well. So it's included in the it needs to be included with the unikernel file. So again, we need to change this to 47 because otherwise it won't work. And that's what it does. Yeah, it, as we can see, we can it generates certain commands like generate default pop. So if we wanted to pop a value from the message queue, it will just, we run this function and it will generate the command that will do that. So if we go back to the unikernel file, we can see that in this situation we want to pop from some queue, which we define here to be hello world trigger. We also want to set the value of the value world to the queue hello, and we also want to increment the hello world count when we run this. So if we look into the config.ml file, which is also required by any MirageOS unikernel to be run, we can see it looks something like this. More detailed instructions on how to make MirageOS unikernels are provided by the MirageOS team at their GitHub and on their webpage. Links will be in the description below. So now that we have all of this set up, let's go about building a MirageOS unikernel. So if we go to kernels, we go to hello world, MirageOS hello world, we see we have all this. So if we say Mirage configure -t hvt, that's hardware virtualized tender. It's the other name for SoloFi hypervisor. What this does is it generates a bunch of build files, as you can see here, which will allow you to make a unikernel. Now, by saying configure -t hvt, it targets this build process to the SoloFi hypervisor rather than as a standard Unix process. So here we say make depend, and what this will do is download and install all of the dependencies required to run the unikernel, to run and build the unikernel. So we're just going to say yes to that. Now, as this is the first time we are doing this, it's going to take quite a while. So again, I'm going to skip ahead to when this is done. Okay, so all of the dependencies have now been installed. We can now make the unikernel. So if we just enter make, it's going to run the Mirage build process, and there we go, it's done. If we look in this directory, we can now see that we have the hello world.hvt file, which is our unikernel. So now that we've done that, all that's left to do is set this up so that it can be used with EdgeKernel. So to do this, we go back to our text editor, we go to the EdgeKernel, the configuration files, and we'll make a configuration file for this unikernel. So here we have a template file is provided, which provides just a simple template which allows us to make, which we can copy and paste to make our own configuration file for a unikernel. So here I'm going to call this hello world.json, and I'm just going to copy over everything from the configuration file, from the template file over here. So here we have the name parameter, and this is simply what the unikernel file name is. So if we go here, it's hello world.hvt. So if we just replace this with hello world.hvt. The directory specifies where to find this unikernel. So that is the working directory of it. So if we just do print working directory, we copy that over and we just paste it over here. So we've got that done now. the queue is the trigger. So what this is a unikernel is going to listen to and monitor, EdgeKernel I should say, is going to listen to and monitor certain queues. And when data items are pushed onto that queue, EdgeKernel will spawn the relevant unikernel so it can consume it. So to know what kind of queue we're looking at, if we go back to our unikernel file, kernels MirageOS hello world unikernel, we can see let start time here, hello world trigger. So it's this value, hello world trigger, that we want to use. So if we just copy this over, and there we go. Now the max instances just specifies how many what's the maximum number of unikernels, hello world unikernels we can have active at a time. And the scale threshold determines how frequently, how many data items should we have in order to spawn a new unikernel. Finally, we have the O file, the output file name. So I'm just going to put this as hello world. And that captures the standard, and EdgeKernel captures the standard output of the unikernel process and redirects it to this file. So now that that's all set up, we can actually start using EdgeKernel. So if we go back to our terminal, we will want to go to the to where EdgeKernel is. If we run it as sudo ruby edgekernel.rb, we can now see that it is running. And if we go to the Redis CLI and we say lpush hello world trigger, and we just say hello, we will see that we have spawned the hello world.hvt unikernel, and we need to wait before it finishes before we could even consider creating a new one, because we are within the grace period, and then it's finished. So if we look back at what our unikernel did, it would pop a value. It would, from the hello world trigger, it would pop a value. It would then print it out. So if we go to the output file and we just say cat hello world.output, we can see hello over here, and that is because that is what we entered with this lpush command. Similarly, if we were to say hello YouTube, run, and then if we cat it again, we can see here hello YouTube. But not just that, we also set the value of hello in Redis to the value world, and we set the variable hello in Redis to the value world, and we also increment the hello world count. So if we get hello, we see that it says world, and if we get hello world count, we can see that it's 2. Now if we push this again and then we get the hello world count again, it's 3. And as you can see, we are using unikernels to respond to changes in this messaging queue, and we'll boot another, and then we'll boot a unikernel to respond to that and do some work. In this case, it's simply printing out a value and incrementing another, but more complicated workloads can be used. Thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a nice day.